I'll admit it, I've never played an Atelier game before. I've always been curious, because so many of you have told me I have to play it. Well, after doing absolutely everything and completing it 100%, here are my thoughts. I'm Adam Scott, and this is Atelier Ryza. Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout is not only a beefy title, but is a beefy RPG developed by Gust and published by Koei Tecmo back in 2019 for PS4, Switch, and PC, with a heavy focus on alchemy and item synthesis. Believe it or not, Atelier Ryza is the 21st game in the Atelier series, and the first game within the Ryza subseries. There's no story connection to the previous Atelier games, and I've heard it's a good jumping in point for anyone curious about Atelier. And since I've never played any of the Atelier games before, here we are. Atelier Ryza follows the story of Ryslin, aka Ryza, a young girl with dreams of adventure. It's a charming and delightful experience that offers a unique blend of exploration, alchemy, and combat. Although it has a painfully slow start, it becomes an addictive adventure that made me hungry for more. The first 8 hours are handcuffed, feeling like options are limited for alchemy, battle strategies, exploring the environment, and completing quests. But once those handcuffs come off, Atelier Ryza shows its rewarding alchemy system and deep battle mechanics. Joining Ryza are her friends, Lent and Tao. The three have a thirst for adventure and sneak off from their homes in Kirkin Island to the mainland. Not long after, the group are ambushed and have to be rescued by the traveling alchemist Empel and Lilla. Ryza is captivated by the alchemy demonstrated by Empel during the rescue and wants to learn. Alchemy in Atelier Ryza is like cooking, where you mix a hodgepodge of ingredients together to make everything from potions to hammers. Just like dinner.
You expect me to eat that?
Ryza quickly finds out she has a knack for alchemy and vows to help Empel and Lilla with her newfound skill in saving their world, and soon learns that Kirkin Island may also be in just as much danger. And with this, the stage is set and our adventure begins. The beginning drags on a bit longer than necessary to guide you through the story and its mechanics, but after a half dozen hours or so, after building the secret hideout called the Atelier, the story picks up the pace, with a sense of urgency feeling much greater than what the novice alchemist Ryza can handle. At its heart, it's a coming-of-age tale. The stakes aren't as high, nor the villains as evil as you might find in a typical RPG. The plot instead centers around how the characters and their friendships grow. It's slow to be certain, but it's also very relaxed and rewarding, which is why it's so shocking when themes like child abuse are mixed into the overall sunny plot about friendship, then just kind of not get addressed. While much of the story progresses by completing objectives and watching cutscenes, they don't always do a good job of pushing you forward. Here's what I mean. In most RPGs, a cutscene will set up what you should do next, like traveling to a town to find a villain or what have you. But often in Atelier Ryza, the cutscenes would end without giving all the information needed, and in many cases there isn't even a hint of what to do next. For instance, at one part in the story I was required to synthesize grass beans. Once done, a scene started in Ryza's room showing Empel talking to Ryza. Then for no stated reason, the game moves to Empel's house to complete the scene. There was no story reason for the shift. There also wasn't any discussion between the characters on what needs to be done next. Ultimately, you'll have to rely much more on the quest log to tell you where to go or what to do next, versus the story scenes, which feels far less organic than if the story drove you in a direction, even if only subtly. Now, a lot of the fun in this game is the journey and not the destination. Great character development makes this journey worthwhile. Like the overall story, the characters start off a bit two-dimensional. Not terrible, mind you, they're a likable and cheery lot, but within a few hours the characters sprout and begin to blossom. It became heartbreaking to see the relationship Lent has with his mentally abusive drunk father. It was compelling to see the influence Boss Brunnen's rich and royal family has on Kirkin Island and its residents, and how his family controls the source of fresh water for everyone. And Ryza herself is a great heroine. She is chock full of determination and humor, she's sensitive and has empathy, she's multifaceted in a way that not many are. Her desire to learn alchemy to help people is commendable, and will drive you to learn as well. The overall gameplay formula fits in with most JRPGs, however the alchemy sets it apart. To boil it down, it's a crafting system, not unlike what we've seen in a glut of other games in recent years. However, the way the alchemy ties into the combat makes it really satisfying. Rather than simply crafting food, elixirs, and other consumables, you're able to slot your creations into your inventory and can use them indefinitely, as long as you have the available CC in a fight to do so. This, along with building and upgrading your weapons and armor, means you can give yourself a big advantage in the right recipe. Often, when I'd get my butt kicked in a fight, it was only a matter of returning to the atelier and working on my recipes to overcome the next obstacle. The downside to the focus on alchemy is that it causes the game to flow like a river of congealed milk, especially at first. You're often stopped to craft something for somebody, and that can mean trying to find the ingredients out in the wild. It feels appropriate if nothing else, but it leads to a lot of combat, exploration, dialogue, craft, stop, start, stop, start. It doesn't help that the main quest flows inorganically and has you crisscrossing the map in a way that only fast travel makes tolerable. Often I was left with no idea where I was supposed to go, with only the next minimap waypoint as my clue of where to proceed. It seems like you're expected to look at your quest journal every time you complete an objective. It works, but there's something a bit odd about opening your journal and seeing, "And then Ryza went to visit her parents," as a blatant indication of what the game wants you to do next.
Do what I tell you!
As you traverse the world, you'll accept random jobs and requests from villagers. This is the bulk of the side content. Completing these jobs and requests provides you with higher quality items or money as rewards and promotes character development of the villagers. It also helps you to develop your alchemy skills. To gather all the materials you'll need for alchemy and synthesis, you'll need gathering tools, including a staff, scythe, hammer, fishing rod, and bug net. Depending on where you are and the item you're looking to gather, you'll need different tools. For example, gathering materials from a tree in the shipyard location produces oil tree fruit with a staff rod, flammable bark with a scythe, and a tough log with an axe. There are only 5 slots available for gathering tools, but more than 5 types of gathering tools are possible to synthesize. And these gathering tools can only be equipped in the atelier. This forces you to strategize on what you want to be prepared to gather while in the field. The basics of alchemy and synthesis revolve around following recipes and mixing materials together in an alchemy pot to create new items. You'll get most recipes through normal story progression and experimenting with existing recipes to create something new. You can also buy a small number of recipes at the shop on Kirkin Island. Most recipes have multiple paths to create an item. This gives you the flexibility to add different characteristics to what you're creating, or even add additional materials to increase the quality or power, or in some cases create a new item altogether. So, you can spend the time to meticulously learn this system to create exactly what you want, or you can simplify it to automatically add your highest or lowest quality items. This makes the system flexible and easy for everyone. I'll admit, synthesizing was a bit confusing at the start since the mechanics aren't fully explained, which leaves it to you to figure out. However, once I got the hang of it, I was able to manipulate all the different items to get exactly what I wanted. Synthesis for battles is pretty cool. Instead of creating 9 bombs to use for combat like in other games, you create 1 bomb and attach it to a core crystal. From here, you have points named core charges that can be used while in the field in battle. Items will require differing amounts of core charges to be successfully used and will depend on the item type and quality. You can replenish core charges at the atelier or by converting another item in the core crystal into points. This unique approach to item usage has quite a few advantages. Firstly, this essentially gives you an unlimited use for a single item. Yes, you need core charges to use the item in the field or battle, but you won't lose that item when you don't have core charges. Secondly, the limited number of items that can be attached to core crystals forces you to strategize on what items you'll need to succeed in battle. Lastly, and most importantly to me, is that this minimizes the redundant gathering and synthesizing of the same items hundreds of times throughout the game. Now, instead of farming the same 3 items for synthesizing bombs repeatedly again, you can use the items to make 1 bomb and repeatedly use that item. Once the game really opened up with the alchemy mechanics, I became addicted. I love spending time exploring the island and mainland, searching for new materials and experimenting with recipes to synthesize new items. Okay, so let's dive into the combat system, which is one of the best I've played in quite some time. Like everything else in the game, it takes a while to truly open up, but once it did, I had an absolute blast. Enemies are visible on the field while you're exploring and can be avoided or preemptively attacked to gain an advantage. You'll bring 3 characters in combat. You can only control one at a time, but can switch between them on the fly. The other 2 characters will attack on their own when it's their turn. You can influence the other characters with the aggressive and negative modes. Aggressive mode means characters will use skills and items whenever they can. Negative mode means the characters will use mostly physical attacks. Combat is a fast-paced mixture of active time battle and timing-based button press systems. Think of something like Final Fantasy VII combined with Shadow Hearts. Here's how it works. You'll select to do a physical attack, use a skill, or use an item when it's your turn in battle. If you use a physical attack, you'll need to press circle at the correct time. Based on your tactics level, if you press circle at the correct time, you'll get opportunities for multiple strikes. Using a skill will use action points. Using an item will use the core charges. The game really rewards crafting powerful items and using them in battle. I was able to take down a super strong boss by using a powerful item I skillfully crafted 4 times. When the other characters were attacking this boss, they were barely chipping away at his health. As you successfully hit enemies throughout the battle, you'll gain AP. Once you gain enough AP, you can use skills or increase your tactics level. Increasing your tactics level will increase the number of hits you can execute on an enemy per turn, and increase the amount of AP you can store for that battle. AP and tactics level reset after each battle. I really enjoyed the implementation of AP and tactics levels into battles. This added a strategy element that made you think about what type of enemy you were facing and decide how best to use AP to increase tactics levels. Each character and enemy has a meter below their health called the stun gauge, which is reduced when they're attacked. When the stun gauge reaches 0, they'll get stunned, temporarily immobilizing them, opening them up to greater damage. If enough damage is dealt while stunned, they'll enter break mode, where they're immobilized for even longer and take even more damage. There's also action orders that appear often in battles. Action orders appear at the top left of the screen. Teammates give suggestions on what to do next, like use an item, use magic, or attack with a weapon. When you do the action they request, it allows them to attack without officially taking their turn, which is the action order. Fully understanding the battle system is paramount. Ultimately difficult and boss battles play out where you chip away slowly at their health while you're building up your tactics level and AP, and then can start to unleash your more powerful attacks and combos to take chunks of health away. Losing a battle causes you to return to the Atelier while losing a random selection of items from your basket. This makes losing battles feel less punishing and entices you to experiment more and try various approaches with difficult battles. The art style is one of Atelier Ryza's standout features. The visuals are bright, colorful, and have a warm hand-drawn feel. The character designs are detailed and their facial expressions are well animated. Environments are richly detailed and evoke a sense of wonder and discovery. The overall look reminded me of Studio Ghibli films, and it created a welcoming and inviting world to explore. While the art style is beautiful, the graphical fidelity is not on par with other modern games. The character models do look a bit blocky and unpolished at times, and there were also occasional frame rate drops and pop-in issues. While these issues don't detract too much from the overall experience, they do prevent the game from being a visual masterpiece. What is a masterpiece is the soundtrack, composed by Hayato Asano. It's a fantastic mix of orchestral and electronic elements that are not only memorable, but fit the game's tone perfectly. I particularly liked the battle and boss themes. The Japanese voice acting is solid with everyone in the cast pulling their weight, but just so you know, there's no English dub. This is an easy and no-stress platinum for those completionists out there. Simply play through the story, which will take around 30 hours. Then you'll have to make sure you complete any remaining quests, gather any uncollected items, acquire all the recipes, and finish off the few endgame bosses. You're looking between 50 and 60 hours to complete everything, and I enjoyed pretty much all of that time. Atelier Ryza ushers in something new while still feeling familiar. There's something infectious about its optimistic attitude, and absorbing about its crafting-centric gameplay. It's a refreshing change of pace from the moody protagonist saving the world from unambiguously evil villains. There's always something available to unlock just around the corner. All that's needed is a specific set of items that could be hidden anywhere. Don't let the slow start or unexplained alchemy or battle mechanics deter you. Learning, refining, and mastering these mechanics are truly rewarding. For those of you who've been interested but never jumped in, I highly recommend you take the plunge into this captivating and thick-thighed world of Atelier Ryza. Alright, well, you've heard my take on Atelier Ryza, and I'd love to hear yours as well. Also, what's your favorite RPG? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe. And if you want another great RPG that might have flown under your radar, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.